Hi, it's Brenda Wood. I'm here with Betty Johnson, and we are in her home business. She is a seamstress. She does alterations, and I'm going to let her talk a little bit about what she does before we get into talking about incarceration and the effects on the family. Betty?
Well, formerly, I was a business owner downtown and here in Leavenworth, and had that storefront for 10 years, and then I brought it home, and I do alterations and like Brenda said, seamstress work, and you name it, pretty much I do it. And so I initially was to be retired, but that has changed over the years, and just to supplement a little bit of earnings, this is what I do.
Okay.
So,
now you have a son that is incarcerated.
I do.
And what year did he go to prison?
He went to prison in 2013.
And he is in the Kansas prison system.
He is in the Kansas prison system.
And how much time did he get?
He got 13 years.
Okay. What prison is he currently in?
He is in Norton Correctional Facility in Norton, Kansas.
How many times has he been transferred?
He has been transferred, let's see, 1, 2, 3, probably about 5 times now.
5 times in 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What is it like being the mother of a child that's in prison?
Well, it's heartbreaking because you never want to see bad things happen to your kids. And even though he is now 45 years old, he's still my son, and I care deeply about him, and I care about his family. He has a young daughter that he's missed out on half of her life already, and at the age she is now, which she'll soon be 14, you know, I feel that she needs a father figure in her life. So, you know, and then the financial duress that it puts us through. Also, that's why I do what I do, to have a little bit of extra money so I can provide for some of the things that he needs. And at this time in my life, I'm almost 68 years old, and I'm supposed to be retired, enjoying myself.
So you mean to tell me the prison doesn't provide for him?
They provide only so much, and they issue things to them, but, you know, it doesn't last forever. So, and, you know, when he needs a pair of shoes, we have to buy it. If he needs clothes, we have to buy them. And, you know, to get the food that he likes to eat, the food, let's just flat out say, it sucks. Mm-hmm. You know, the food is not very good. It's you know, Mike is 400 pounds, and you can't cram starchy food down a person that's overweight the way he is. And so, you know, to get those things that he can do for himself, that's up to the family, for the fans that they need, because he's in a facility. A lot of these facilities are not air conditioned, you know, and when the temperatures reach over 100 degrees, my gosh, and with no air flowing, and most of the time, you know, they may get an hour of yard time if they're that lucky. Hot. Yeah, and Kansas does get hot and humid. And, you know, and if they want to receive any type of television or news, you know, they have to provide their own television. And I mean, some of the places, I don't know where he's at now, they have a room where a lot of them congregate, but since COVID, you know, none of them are getting together. They keep their distance, so they're pretty much locked in to their rooms.
And what is the medical care like? Medical
care, well, you know, Mike's got some serious things going on, and we just found out he was diabetic and high cholesterol. He's 420 some pounds. You know, he also was diagnosed before he went in. He had narcolepsy, and he was on a BiPAP and CPAP because he can't get the air in or out of his lungs. So what's I tell you, in the hottest of times, you know, not to have something that allows you to breathe, because I have asthma, so I know how hard it is to get that air into the lungs.
Right.
And so, you know, they just don't provide. You know, he gets sick a lot because he has nothing left in his nasal area due to complications of of drug abuse at a young age. All that has gone and is deteriorated. So he's going to get sick a lot. And, you know, aspirins just don't take care of the things that they have.
Right.
So.
Does he have a job?
Not now, no. No.
So it is completely up to the family to provide. It is
completely up to the family to provide. And, you know, he was on job release to go to and from, and that was really nice, but it didn't last long enough because, you know, they resourced the jobs out, and so that meant no more jobs for these inmates. So
I have spoken to several people, and a lot of people do not understand how little an inmate makes per hour or per day or per month, depending on the facility you're at. I've heard some say 67 cents an hour, some $1 a day, some just very minimal wages, that it can be linked to borderline slavery.
Well, it is. It is, you know. You know, I believe it's right around, you know, 70 cents to $1 a day. Well, come on, let's, you know, that doesn't pay for a stick of deodorant. It doesn't pay for anything. And, you know, you have to provide for their, you know, their hygiene. And when you're paying, and the prices of the merchandise that they have accessible to them, that they have to pay for, is ridiculous, you know. So when you're paying 3 times what it cost on the outside, I said, you know, that is just, you know, it's ridiculous. A $20 pair of tennis shoes to cost you over $100. Come on, let's get real.
What about phone time and email?
Phone time and email. Now, he has not taken advantage because he's not computer savvy. So he does phone time. I provide monies on his books so he can have that phone time. I know since COVID, they've given him maybe a couple of times a week that it's on them to get a hold of their families and see, but I don't know what it is now, you know. So, but most of the time I'm paying for that phone time.
Which can get expensive.
Oh, sure it can.
What about violence? Does it scare you with what's going on in the prisons? Just, you know, you see movies and you see the news, you hear of riots and things that are going on that you may or may not know is true. Does any of that bother you, knowing your son that could possibly happen to him?
That doesn't bother me near as much as the health issues. And I'm saying that because I know my son, and he doesn't tolerate a lot of the violence in a month. He pretty much keeps to himself. And, you know, you keep your nose clean and out of other people's business, then you're gonna survive pretty good. But there have been occasions where, you know, you're gonna have run-ins everywhere. And he has had run-ins, and I think the gang violence is prevalent in most of the prison systems, and, you know, you don't get yourself involved with that, and he pretty much stays to himself on that.
How long has it been since you've seen him?
It has now been over a year since I've seen him. Because of COVID, they shut everything down. So
when he was here in Lansing, were you able to see him more often, and was it easy access to get in?
It was, and I was really upset when they moved him from Lansing, because we live right here in Leavenworth, and so, you know, I knew what visiting times were, and we looked forward. He got to visit his child, and it made it nice for her to see her daddy, and then something happened where, you know, that got him moved. And I won't go into it because, you know, it's not important right now.
And they move them without a notice to the family.
Oh, yeah.
So you just find out after the fact.
Yeah, you find out afterwards that they're going to be moved.
Now, you had mentioned to me in a previous conversation that he lost his marriage over this.
Yes, he did. So they had renewed their vows before he went into prison. And then after he went in, and he'd served for a while, that, you know, she just said, no, she said, I can't deal with this. And so she went ahead and divorced him. So, and so she's a single mom trying to bring up a daughter with no extra income coming in. And of course now she has had to go out on medical disability because of cancer. And so it's created a hardship on that family also. I do what I can. So in order to help my granddaughter out, I provide, you know, her phone, and so I take care of that bill plus the phone, and also provide for her dental care. But there's only so much another person can do.
Sure.
So
in addition to this little girl, she has lost her father.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother is now ill.
Mm-hmm.
And the possibility, when her mother was diagnosed with cancer, she didn't know what was going to happen there.
Right.
So now you have had to step in
Mm-hmm.
and take care of that situation, as well as try to help your son out in prison.
Right. Well, I do what I can. Her mom does a really good job.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And so,
but it still weighs on the family.
It does, and so whatever help I can give, I will do. So to the best of my ability.
There's a lot of people that say, that person's going to prison, he didn't get enough time, she didn't get what she deserved, throw the book at him. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's my thoughts. My son went in, he got a 13-year conviction on a first-time charge of drug possession and intent to
Mm-hmm.
distribute. And, but because he had been in the system before and had paid for that mistake before, nothing related, they, you know, they set the years to another table. They use another table for sentencing, and what a first-time offender would get probably less than half that time, and he got more than double. When you can go out and sexually abuse or murder someone and get less time. So I think it's ridiculous, you know, because he was not a violent offender, but yet they pretty much threw the book at him.
Do you feel that our justice system is fair?
No, I don't feel that way at all.
Mm-hmm. Did he have a public defender or a paid attorney?
We had a paid attorney that we got near the, when he went to trial, and the reason we had paid is that he was looking at, you know, if he would have gone in for a trial, they did a plea agreement. If he had gone to trial, the possibility of a 30-year sentence was looking at him, which is just totally ridiculous. And 13 years is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. You know, I feel right at this time that, you know, he's been there 7 years, going on 8 years now, that's more than ample time to pay for what you've done, you know. And it was not like he was out there, you know, doing some of the really hard things and bad things that others that are serving time for much less have done.
Yes. Now, I do agree that there are some people that probably need to spend life in prison.
Oh, absolutely.
I do agree that there are stipulations in the sentencing guidelines that are not fair. Do you feel that had he had not been in the system before, that he would have got a lot less time?
Absolutely.
And do you feel that it should have probably been based, since he'd already done his time before, he had already been through the system and been off of probation and did everything that he should have did right the first time, and this was a completely separate crime, that it should have been judged solely based on that?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were unrelated crimes, and, you know, there were others that were involved, and, you know, Mike being the person, he's not a person that would squeal on another person. Mm-hmm. And so pretty much I think they just threw the book at him because of, you know, well, I don't know why. You know, he went peacefully. He didn't give him any problems. And pretty much, you know, when he went to court and they had passed the sentence on him, he was able to spend a little bit of time with his family, and he turned himself in at that time. So they trusted him enough to do that. And he wasn't going to run. He wasn't a flight risk.
Right.
And, you know, there are so many of them out there that have done far worse than he has and served just hardly any time at all. And now they're releasing, you know, in other parts of the country, you know, it's a pickup and release pretty much, you know, and they're releasing some of these people that have really done bad things to people as far as, you know, whether it be murder or rape or child molestation, and, you know, they're turning them out. But yet they won't take a look at a first-time drug offender who has served his time and, you know, with his medical issues, I think he should be released early.
Yes.
And I think they should take that in the state of Kansas. You know, they turn their backs on these guys, but there's a lot of them that I think they've served enough of their time for what they've done.
When you were looking at trial, I've heard that they put plea deals out, hoping that people will take these pleas to get them off the desk to move on to the next case. And they try to scare you with trial that you're going to get all these years to take the plea. And if it is your right to go to trial, then why do you feel that they should get punished for going to trial and get more time?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know. I know that it seems to me like it's a scare tactic, and I believe you're right. It's probably to get these off, you know, to get rid of this case and move on to the next, and because the cases are just stacked high when it comes to robbery and drug, especially drug. You know, there's a lot of people on now where they've legalized some of the marijuana, you know, in a lot of these states, you know, and one of the charges he had was for possession of marijuana. So,
yes. And do you think that if they legalize that in the state, that they will come back and take off some of those charges and readjust his time?
I don't know.
They haven't discussed that.
No, they have not. And without the expense of hiring another attorney to look at that, it probably not. So,
well,
and we're hoping. I know that I do have an attorney that I do work for on sewing that is checking into a few things and about the possibility of the early releases, but we're not there yet. So, you know, the first time that it was to cross the desk of some of the political realms, it didn't make it there in time. So they have to wait a whole new year.
What can the public do to educate our lawmakers about fair sentencing acts, fair sentencing guidelines?
Well, I think they should look at the individual, and, you know, if it's an unrelated, I think they need to change the sentencing guidelines, because, you know, if he has served his time and he paid his restitution on the first case, or you know, and which was a real hardship, because he was involved with, and they had no evidence really against him other than the kid that said, oh yes, he's the one that did it. He turned state's evidence. And the kid that had the merchandise in his home got nothing. And Michael got 23 months for a burglary charge. And so, and all that fell on him with restitution, and which he didn't have any of the merchandise and had no evidence whatsoever. And he served his time and he paid a restitution that I pretty much helped him with. And we're talking a restitution of around $18,000.
So it was a lot of money.
So it was a lot of money. And so, you know, if you've done that and you've served your time, and, you know, even though that, you know, there were possibly others involved in that, and the load fell all on you. And of course they took in his size too, because he's a big boy. And then you look at a little shrimpy guy and say, oh, he couldn't possibly do this. Yeah, right. So, but, you know, he paid for it. He paid for what he did, and he's paying for it now. And so I think there's, you know, a lot of changes that could be made within the prison.
What is it going to be like for him when he gets out?
I have no idea. Mike will be he's due to release, and the earliest release is August of 2023. 3 more years, he'll be 48 years old. And, you know, for a man his size and his health conditions, there's not much out there that he can do. So it's going to involve, you know, and the first thing they do is they put him on parole or probation, and you've got this much time to pay back whatever they decide they need from you. Like they're really making a lot of money in there, and they come out of the system and they say, well, you owe the state this much money. Oh, come on now. It's ridiculous. Don't we think we've paid enough? And so they pretty much, you know.
You feel they set him up to fail?
I do. I really do, you know,
so
because
he doesn't have a job when he comes out.
Doesn't have a job.
No clothes, no assets.
Has nothing.
No family other than you and his child.
Right.
Yes.
So, you know, and when they parole out, they have to have an address of a home that they have to go to. So everything has to be set up for them to have a place to stay.
Wow. And if they don't, what happens?
I have no idea. Well, then they go, now, wait, from what I think Mike said, then there's another place that they can go to parole into, which is more like probably like a halfway type situation.
If they have room.
If they have room, exactly. So, and in doing that, you know, if you turn them out and there's nowhere to go, what's left for them to do but go out and do another crime? So.
Well, is there any words you would like to say before we shut the camera off to anybody? Any words of advice or?
Well, the only thing that I've got to say is that I believe that there is things that could be changed within the system, the prison system.
Do you believe people can change?
I do, if given a chance.
Yes.
You know, if you believe in a person and just don't turn your back on them, because so many of them get out there and the first thing they see is, oh, you've been in prison, so we're not going to hire you. And
or they try to take advantage of them and
take advantage of it. Exactly. So, but that's pretty much it. Okay. You know, you just give them a fighting chance when they do get out.
Well, continue watching. We have more to come. Thanks for viewing.
Okay.